Meeting of the Lunenburg. Thank you. We'll try that again. It is 6:30 and we all appear to be here. I would like to call this meeting of the Lunenburg School Committee to order. It is Monday, March 11th, and we are meeting over Zoom. Dr. Burnham.
Good evening, everyone. As a preliminary matter, this is Dr. Burnham, Superintendent of Schools. I will do a roll call to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Chairperson Archambault?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Leighton?
Yes.
Secretary School and Brainy?
Yes. Hold on. Yes.
Mrs. Brzezowski?
Yes.
And Mr. Beardmore?
Yes.
And we have some staff on the call this evening, but the only role that I'll call here is for our recording secretary, Ms. Courtney Fuller. Courtney, can you hear me? Maybe she stepped away. I'll turn it back to the chair.
All righty. Oh, Courtney.
Yeah, sorry, it froze up on me. It's pretty windy outside.
That happens. Thank you. In accordance with the requirements of open meeting law, please be advised this meeting is being recorded and will be broadcast over the Lunenburg Public Access channel at a later time. And this meeting of the Lunenburg School Committee is being conducted remotely. The town of Lunenburg, in response to the COVID-19, is currently following the guidance from the Lunenburg Board of Health, Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and the CDC, reminding the virus. I don't know that we're really worried about viruses right now, but in accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, all public meetings were being public. Let's try that again. We are permitted to hold this meeting publicly on Zoom, according to the governor's order and change in public meeting law. Let's see. And that is fine as long as there is reasonable public access so the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. We are convening by telephone conference, video conference by Zoom, as posted on the town's website, identifying how the public may join. Please note this meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Please be aware that other folks may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. Anything you broadcast may be captured by the recording. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda, and after they conclude their remarks, I will ask for any additional comments. Please hold until your name is called. Further, please remember to mute your phone or computer when you are not speaking. Please remember to speak clearly and in a way that helps generate accurate minutes. And please wait till the chair yields the floor to you. If members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify themselves. Finally, each vote taken at this meeting will be conducted by roll call vote. So, our first order of business is public comment. Is there any public comment from the board first? Seeing none, is there any public comment from the public? You would use your raise your hand function. And I am not seeing any public comment from the public. So we will go on to conduct the one order of business for this evening, which is the amendment of the override vote. This action is necessary because our action of last week was incorrect because we had some numbers that needed to be amended. So we are back again this evening to talk about that. So What I put inside the folder was a comment that has to be amended again about the override amount. Just as we were getting ready to come on the air this evening, we received word from the town manager that the new growth had in fact been certified, and that we will be receiving 231, let me read the exact number, $231,025.50 additional that we were hoping for, but we're not all of that sure we're going to show up. So because of that change, we will have to amend some of our numbers. So the override amount requested by the school committee, I had down as $1,300,000. It makes sense to me to subtract $230,000 from that. So that new number becomes $1,070,000. If we follow the logic we followed at the last meeting. And this amount is based on the town manager's now 3.94 budget number. Anybody who wants to correct my figuring out what percentage that was is more than happy to jump in. But it is now a 3.94% budget. If the town manager's budget number increases, the override would reflect that amount. We are not done looking for additional funds, and that number could increase. Maybe not, but it could. So, example on my page here is if the town manager is able to fund the school budget at 5.42, which is the needs-based budget the superintendent has presented, this would result in an override of 727,520. As the school committee does not meet again until after the warrant and ballot deadlines, we are requesting an override number reflecting, now I would say 3.94 budget currently on the table. So, sorry, I couldn't correct I didn't have enough time to correct the document. So that's what I believe is on the table. Is there any discussion amongst the members? Mr. Schoenbrini?
Whatever we decide tonight, I think it would be best if we put it in a letter form to send to the finance committee and to the select board to make sure that everybody knows this is our final, our final answer. And we have the budget for the balanced budget presentation by the town manager, the needs-based budget, and then the override, so that we have three numbers and they know what all of them are.
We can do that, but the needs-based budget, we're not voting on our recommended budget this
Oh,
evening.
good. So just
We
those
are
two then.
only voting on override numbers.
Perfect.
So I think I would leave that 5.42 out of it for the time being, except I was using it as an example, not knowing we were going to end up with the 3.94 minutes before we adjourned our meeting tonight.
Okay.
But I would agree that it would have to go to both FinCom and the select board.
Just as long, because I know that there's some pushback about, oh, the school board has had a bunch of numbers, and we have, to be fair. But I think that if we say, we've had a lot of numbers, we've done our deliberation, and put it in writing, this is our override number. Then
This
I
is
think
the
that
override number as of this evening, unless the town manager changes the bottom line. Mr. Beardmore?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask or offer some clarification. The number that we voted on last Wednesday was not 1.2 odd million dollars. It was in the $700,000, and there was a calculation error that was made last Wednesday night that precipitated the call for this out of schedule meeting. the details of which were explained in great detail at the Finance Committee meeting the next night, last Thursday. But I just wanted to offer that level of what I understood you to just describe, Mrs. Archambault, is a $1,070,000 number that reflects the level services minus ESSER budget
Correct?
minus the current town manager recommendation, which reflects the $230,000, $230,000 from the recap adjustment. But what I believe you are recommending is a new number of $1,070,000, which would get us from the town manager's current number to the level services minus ESSER number. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Could you, so my question is, relative to finality, and there are a few variables here that have me thinking. The first is I am sensitive to the fact that the 60-day deadline for the ballot expires next Monday.
Yes.
However, that is a select board imposed policy, which if you read the communication that came out from the town clerk today relative to the town caucus and all of the various deadlines for candidates for that same ballot, we are dealing with a number of additional weeks before that ballot is actually finalized. So my question is really like, is the final number, because the budget could change, right? We could lobby for and get more money. There are other issues that still need to be adjudicated relative to the DPW and other departments. But we have to put in a number, and I'm concerned that the budget that we finally arrive at and the request for an override could be substantially more than we're actually looking for tonight. And I'm curious as to how that would play out.
I do recall from, as we have all been at myriads of meetings that extended late into the evening over the last couple of weeks, I do recall that questions on the ballot have to be certified somewhere. I don't have to go to Boston or somebody for them to check on it. So the number of days before an election may be different for a question than it is for names on a ballot. That is what I recall from a discussion, and please don't, I don't know who said
No,
that.
I heard the same description, Mrs. Archambault. I didn't know if you have heard additional detail to that, because that has come with no specificity whatsoever.
We certainly can look into it, and that is why I wanted to write the letter in such a way that if more funds become available to our budget, that we're not looking for extra money in the override. We're looking for the level service budget minus ESSER. And that is why, as clumsy as it is, I tried to write a letter to indicate that should this number change, then the override number would change, which creates even more confusion. I don't know how else to do it. If somebody else has a better idea, I am more than happy to jump in. Mr. Leighton?
I just don't think there's another way to do it. They need the number. So, I mean, numbers change. That is the downside, but this is the deadline and this is what we're going to submit, is my thought.
And as long as there is the understanding that if the town manager's number does change again, our number would also change again. And we do have another meeting with the town manager and the chair of the select board this week. So perhaps it will.
I just want to stipulate, you haven't said anything that I didn't already know. Important that the public understands this as we move into this, especially given the recent history and the issues that we've had.
Absolutely. The clearer we can be and the more transparent, I'm more than happy to do so. Any other thoughts? So let me read this one more time. The override amount requested by the school committee is $1,070,000 to be used by the Lunenburg Public Schools. This amount is based on the town manager's 3.94 budget. If the town manager's budget number increases, the override would reflect that amount. Example, if the town manager is able to fund the school budget at 5.42, which is our needs-based budget, the override would be reduced by $572,480. This would result in an override of, well, that number's wrong now too. I have to fix that middle number as well. So I'm reading it as I didn't have time to print out another copy or change what I've got here. So that override, wait a minute, more last minute math. 230. Let's try that paragraph again. If the town manager is able to fund the school budget at 5.42, which is the needs-based budget, the override would be reduced by $342,480. This would result in an override of $727,520. As the school committee does not meet again until after the warrant and ballot deadlines, we are requesting an override number reflecting the 3.94 budget that is currently on the table. That is like clear as mud. But Mrs. Brzezowski.
I do have concerns about how confusing it is.
If you can clean it up, I'm happy to listen.
No, I don't know how to. And the truth is that I think the amounts are going to change. The amounts could change on the day of town meeting. Even our multiple budgets were confusing some people in town government. And I'm a little concerned that the confusion of this, I think it would be easier if we could be very, very clear with the public exactly what we're asking for and an amount. But I understand why we're doing it. Like it makes sense to me. It makes absolute sense to me. But from a clarity standpoint, I think it might get confusing. I'm just a little worried about that. I just wanted to talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, well, I think the whole thing is very confusing. Mr. Beardmore?
I would suggest that I'm perfectly happy to arrive at a number based on a target of the level services minus ESSER for tonight and not prolong the discussion and allow it the letter. But I think that the letter needs to reflect our intent to land at the level services minus ESSER budget. And that budget has a number associated with it, which we know, which is very unlikely to change. Much more so, I think, will where we're going to land. So I would suggest wording it in a way that stipulates that we are aiming for a level services minus ESSER budget that is of this amount, and that is the logic behind the OST. If more money is made available, then that number should be adjusted if time permits. But to put it in, plain a language as possible, I guess.
Okay, I think that makes sense. I did not do that on this. Mr. Schoenbrini, your thoughts?
What if instead of saying how much more we need or what percentage increase it would be, say we would like the override to fund the school at X amount, arrived at via override or receipt of any funds pending budget changes between now and town meeting. So we just tell them what the final number is, as opposed to all of the other stuff, like the percentage and the total increase in the amount, because we don't know what the total increase in the amount is going to be, but we do know what Dr. Burnham has budgeted as the final total bill that will be submitted. You know, one is 25, one is 22, whatever. But if we try to tie it, I think Laura is right. If we try to tie it to like where the money is coming from, it'll be really confusing. If we say we want an override so that the school district is funded to the amount of, you know, whatever the 25 million is, that would be it, including funds from override or other sources as found between now and town meeting, and just leave it at that.
We could do it that way, though I know they are looking for an override number. So we could say the $1,070,000 for an override. Let's go back. If we take Peter's language, our intent is to land at was the language he used, but we may change that. But our intent is to land at a level service minus ESSER budget. And then put that number, whatever that number is that I don't have in front of me.
25
Okay.
point.
Yeah, it's the 25. Yeah. And then state that currently that would be currently an override of $1,070,000 would be necessary to get us to that budget. Something like that. This was hard the first time. It's really hard to figure out how to do this.
I think that would be directionally right.
Is that what people are thinking we should do?
Yes.
Okay, so then somebody read me the amount again. 25 what?
It's I have 24,850.44.
24,850.44. Is that the correct number? I saw an extra number today and then it disappeared, so I'm not quite sure what that was.
Yeah, so I'm working off the corrected, updated 3/8/24 sheet in blue. And the number at the bottom of that is $24,850,044, reflecting an 8.62% increase.
Okay, and it's telling me I can't open this. So, okay, say that number again, because for some reason, all of a sudden, I need to update my app. So I've got $24,850, $850,044.
$44, yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so our intent is to land at a level service minus ESSER budget, which would be $24,850,000